let's go back in time to 2007 to 2018, roughly. I had never watched anything anime or anime adjacent in my life at that point, not even something like Dragon Ball, which as a Hispanic man is basically sacrilege. I still haven't watched it, by the way. But one day, I was scrolling through an app called iFunny. I know, point and laugh, I deserve it. When I came across this image, and I think this is the artist, but I'm not 100% sure, so let me know if I am wrong. Anyways, I saw this image and thought the character looked really cool, so I decided to look into it. And that's when I discovered Rooster Teeth and Red vs. Blue and all their good stuff. But most importantly of them all was RWBY. I instantly fell in love with the show. Its animation really did throw me off at first, but for some reason I just couldn't pull myself away from it. It just really captivated me for some reason. And I ended up just binging the whole show, which at the time was 5 seasons, which, if you've seen RWBY, probably wasn't the best time to get into the show. But even so, I loved RWBY. So much I basically made it my whole personality. I both bought and got my parents to buy me lots of RWBY merch, and when I got my first job, I used some of my first few paychecks on Rooster Teeth first, so I could watch the new volumes as they were airing. I even tried to go online and interact with the community online, as that was something I never really did before. The only other time I did was with Overwatch when that was big, and if I'm putting RWBY and Overwatch in the same sentence, you could probably guess how my fandom interactions went. There was a lot of time between Volume 5 and 6, and I spent almost all of it being absolutely obsessed with the series. I saw lots of people online bashing RWBY because of Volume 5, but I just ignored it and continued on, because if there's one thing I learned on the internet, it's that if you have time to argue with someone online, you have the time to be doing literally anything else. Volume 5 did have its problems, yes, but I still enjoyed it, and I can't tell you just how excited teenage me got when Blake and Ying reunited at the end. I was able to forgive it all thanks to that scene. Now, before I get too deep into this, let me just start by saying I'm not the most media literate person ever. These days, the only anime I watch anymore are trashy isekais and yuris, and sometimes both at the same time, but even I am capable of recognizing glaring issues when they pop up. So Volume 6 comes around, and I have never been more excited for anything in my life. Every episode was banging, man. I just kept getting more and more hyped. The Adam character short came out, and for your information, he was my favorite character. Every ounce of that man just oozed style, and this short had to mean he was going to play a major role that I just could not wait for. Neo was back. Man, I was so anxious to see what she was up to. Could she betray Cinder? Is she after RWBY? I couldn't wait to find out. Blake and Ying were together again, and they were super awkward with each other and had so much to work out. The shipper and me was just so giddy. We learned the history of Remnant and the two brothers and Salem and the relics and all that, and it was just so fucking awesome. Then we reach episode 10, Stealing from the Elderly. I had never been more nervous about a series in my life. Adam was finally here to confront Blake. His mask was gone, and we were finally going to see what was underneath. Then we go to episode 11 and 12. Yang appears before Adam, finally confronting the man who cut off her arm and mentally destroyed her. They fight, and the choreography was batshit insane. Apparently, animations Monty had made before he passed away, when he originally planned for Adam and Yang to fight in Volume 3 before changing it. What was everyone else doing while this was going on? Who cares? Both sides were acting like petulant children. It was boring. This is the important stuff. So we go to episode 12, Seeing Red, and it ends with Blake and Ying killing Adam. And that's it. Adam had taken his blindfold off to reveal the SDC logo, but it didn't really matter. Blake and Ying embraced each other at the end, and while I was super happy to see my girls get together, something didn't sit right with me at the time, and I couldn't really explain, but looking back at it, I think I felt unsatisfied with that whole series of events. I had a whole year to think about this between volumes 6 and 7, and I ultimately came to the conclusion that I really fucking hated what happened in volume 6. Now that I've gotten all the backstory and lore out of the way, let's begin the next segment of this video called Tom Jack Bitches About RWBY for the next however long. Before I get too much into ranting, let me set the stage real quick by briefly going through volumes 7 and 8. Episode 2 of volume 7 just might be one of the most infuriating things I have ever watched. When Team RWBY and the others finally meet up with Iron Mode after getting arrested, he tells them about how he needed others to trust, so he told Winter, Penny, and the Aesops about Salem, the Maidens, and the other stuff as well. Then he talks about his plans to reveal Salem to the world. The show tries to paint Ironwood as super paranoid, but to be honest, this man is almost too trusting, naively so. So obviously, the first thing Ruby does when she gets the chance to speak is to fucking lie to Ironwood about Ozpin and the relics for really no reason whatsoever, and then to further make Ruby look bad, he gives the relic back to her, despite the fact it is in the most danger that way because it is his way of showing that he is choosing to trust Team RWBY. Then we go to episode 3, where Oscar notes that they're doing the same thing as Ozpin, and yet they still lie. In episode 4, Ironwood gives them their Huntress license, and they still lie. Crow tries to justify this by saying Ruby is trusting people but they have to prove themselves first. Explain to me how Ironwood hasn't proven himself yet. This man has sacrificed everything and trusted you with everything, but he still can't be trusted? This wouldn't be an issue if the show actually tried to make RWBY come off as the bad guy in this scenario, but they don't. Team RWBY are still always in the right 100% of the time and can do nothing wrong whatsoever.
I know the General hasn't done everything perfectly, but he's doing what he thinks is right.
Everybody thinks what they're doing is right. But usually, they're just looking out for themselves.
You are such a fucking cunt. Alright, let's skip ahead a bunch. Ironwood and the Aesops have turned against Team RWBY. Everything is going wrong, and their constant lying has made him paranoid, justifiably so. His plan changes from launching Amity Arena into space to launching the entirety of Atlas into space instead, keeping the relics permanently out of Salem's hands and saving those that he can. Team RWBY is butthurt about this because this singular man isn't saving every person on the planet, so clearly he must be the bad guy too. This is one of the things that makes me most infuriated, is RWBY is always trying to save everyone because, objectively speaking, it is the good thing to do. That is objectively good. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works, both in real life and in RWBY, because lo and behold, in their attempts to save everyone, Atlas is destroyed, Salem gets both of the relics of knowledge and creation, and a whole lot of people who wouldn't have died otherwise get killed. Let me ask you something. What is RWBY's goal? I can partly answer that for you. It's to stop Salem from summoning the gods and destroying the world. Okay, so why has everything they have done post-Volume 4 been to the complete benefit of Salem? For starters, why the fuck did they take the lamp out of the vault in Mistral? Raven seemed pretty damn remorseful. Yang couldn't have been like, hey mom, if you want to make it up to me, can you close the goddamn door so Salem can't get her grubby hands on it? Also, Salem doesn't even know who the Spring Maiden is, so she can't even open it back up. Yeah, Cinder knows, and she could tell her, but she didn't, so whoop-de-fucking-do, I guess. Let me play devil's advocate. They felt the lamp wasn't safe in Mistral, so they wanted to take it to Atlas, where the strongest military power on Remnant is, and they felt it would be most safe there. Okay, fair enough. That's reasonable logic. So why the hell did you constantly lie to the military's general who had done nothing wrong but be 100% honest with you and showed you complete blind trust? Let me remind you, Ironwood turned against RWBY because they lied. Had they not done that at the beginning of Season 7, 1, James wouldn't have been nearly as paranoid and over the edge, and 2, if both relics make it into space, that's it. Salem loses. There is literally nothing she can do about that. I get it, it's because they want to save people, but if the relics are gone, what reason does Salem have to continue killing random people? That's not going to get her any closer to her goal. And need I remind you, she's been alive for thousands of years. If she wanted to kill indiscriminately, I think she would have done that by now. Let me look at it from the writer's perspective. The plot needs to happen. You can't set up the scenario that the relics once brought together summon the gods back to Remnant and not have it do that. I get it. But for crying out loud, don't have it be the protagonist's fault every single time. Don't have the heroes take out the single power source that's keeping an entire city full of civilians floating, you know? I think we all owe Adam Taurus an apology. This man saw the bigger picture. He was actually trying to stop 2 war criminals in the making, and we just couldn't see it at the time. On behalf of the entire fandom, I am sorry, Adam. You deserved far better. He was a hero. I just couldn't see it. Let me move on to Volume 9, the most recent one, and though I don't have as much to say as 7 and 8, I still have some things I want to get off my chest. First off, Ruby and John crack me up this volume because in their moments of weakness, they start thinking exactly like Ironwood are and probably realizing that he was in the rights the entire time. It's just unfortunate that it's too late for that now. This whole volume really is just turbo filler. If you thought the dance arc in volume 2 was filler, you've seen nothing yet. Team RWBY can learn as many lessons as they want during the season, but I can say with the utmost confidence that the moment they arrive in Vacuo, everything is going to play out the way it always does. They show up, take the relic out of the vault for whatever dipshit reason they came up with this time, then Salem steals it, roll credits. This season seems like it was meant for the characters, mainly Ruby Rose, to reflect on their actions, but it doesn't matter if they don't actually take these lessons to heart in the next season. Also, I really fucking hate this scene. Not the kiss itself, I'm chill with that. I still kind of like Bumblebee, but I'm more of a monochrome person these days. I fucking hate that they're on a bridge and they need to compliment each other to, quote, take the next step for pieces of the bridge to appear. I bet whichever hack in the writer's room wrote this was so goddamn proud of themselves when they thought of it. I imagine their ego is at an all-time high, kicking their feet up on the desk for thinking of such a clever visual metaphor. What a total douchebag. Alright, let's take a look at Neo, because she's really the only villain in this season next to Goro Akechi, and holy shit, it might have been the most disappointing thing since Adam's death. She finally confronts RWBY because for some fucking reason she blames her for Torchwick's death, and then she just leaves. We really waited 4 fucking seasons just for her to go, nah, I don't really feel like it. What was even the point then? What could you not afford her fucking voice actress anymore? Everyone was waiting for her to turn on Cinder instead of RWBY, but that Neo just stays in Not Neverland for no good reason. I really wanted to see the old enemy and my enemy is my friend trope and see Neo and RWBY team up to get back at Cinder, but I guess it would have been difficult to have 11 protagonists on screen instead of 10. My conspiracy theory is that the writers know just how many fucking plot lines they have screwed up and are just trying to wrap up all the rest as quickly as possible, no matter how sloppy, so they can finally just reboot this series. It is the only explanation for an ending as retarded as Neo's story. There's also the bit with Summer at the end, but let me spoil the fun now and tell you that nothing of importance will come of it. All we'll get is just how Summer died because it's been 9 seasons and we still haven't gotten that yet, and the writers just feel obligated to give us something after all this time. That's all it's going to be, really. Also, her battle axe is fucking stupid. What a dumb looking weapon. I think, just like me, even the writers don't care anymore and are just trying to get to an ending because we are about to be 10 seasons deep and there is no satisfying ending in sight. Not only have we not even seen the Vacuo Sword yet, but we haven't even gotten to Beacon's relic yet, and considering each arc is 3 seasons long because reasons, we're looking at potentially another 6 volumes at least. And Viz Media may have come through this time, but if this next season is a true stinker, I don't see us ever reaching a conclusion. And you know, maybe that's for the best. Perhaps we should just start over. Every character I get attached to either dies or gets written out of the plot, so I can safely say I no longer have any personal attachment to RWBY anymore. Maybe a new universe where Adam is a revolutionary, Ironwood isn't surrounded by idiots, and Monochrome is canon is what's needed for things to heal. Because I can honestly say, so long as these 2 hacks continue to have a job, this show is only going to get worse.